that loved me when I hated him.
Yeah.
I found somebody that was begging me to let him take the burdens off. And I was too stubborn for a long time to even let him do that. I found somebody who was able to say, I know that this world's more powerful than you, but it's not more powerful than me.
Amen.
Peter found that out the hard way, didn't he?
Yep.
Lord, I'll never forsake you. Everybody else in this world may scatter and run, but Lord, I'll never forsake you. But Jesus knew the disappointment that was coming, didn't he?
Yep.
Jesus knew that, that Peter was on his own at that time. He didn't have the Lord inside of him yet.
He didn't. He wasn't saved.
And he knew the weakness of man and why that he had come to cure that, that very thing that was able to take somebody so weak that even though he was standing with Jesus all this time, the minute trouble came, listen, Peter would get so scared for his life that he would cuss and swear to prove. Now listen, I'm going to prove I don't walk like that man. Listen, this world, they can say what they want to about. Listen, there's, well, all sins are the same. Don't worry about it. We're all sinners. I got news for you. Peter, he acted like this world to try to get away from being like Jesus, didn't he? Today is pray just for a minute at a time. I love to preach when God blesses me. But you know what? I love to listen when God blesses you to preach. That's just the way that it works with me today. But God is real. I'm telling you, my faith is real today. Listen, why I like to say that my religion is real in me because listen, I'm telling you that the old regular Baptist is not really my religion today. That's just the title we put on there. But my religion is real today. I hope you'll pray that God lifts me up just for a minute of time. I love to serve Him, and I love the true religion I found when I turn my heart to Him. I know that this world, listen, it's full of religion today. This world, it loves to think that religion's going to take them to heaven, that all they got to do is go through the rituals of religion. Oh, I want to tell you about a man that had a lot of religion one time. Listen, I love to read. One of my favorite things to read, people, is how old Saul, listen, how Saul, listen, of Tarsus had so much religion today, and what did he do with that religion? Oh, he helped them stone Stephen to death, didn't he? And he was walking upright in his religion when he done that. That's what religion will do for you. But I love one of my favorite things I love to read about in the Acts. Listen, the disciples there, to me it's almost like two books. Listen, the biggest part of this book of Acts, it's like a history and an account of everything that went on. But to me, the real story starts when Paul is taken, listen, and bound down, listen, and testifies for himself before the governors. Listen, he wanted to testify, didn't he, before this whole world here. Why? And they took him to some, you know what's interesting, how So there was, you know what, they had some trouble in that church, that early church, because they're a lot like us, Larry. They had a lot. Listen, the church had, thousands of Jews that converted. But they was a little bit ignorant, this thing. They thought they still had to hold that law, didn't they? They thought they still needed that religion, didn't they? And Paul came, and so God raised up a teacher, didn't he? Paul wasn't just another one of them. He was the chief of the Pharisees. Listen, he was an educated man, and I don't just mean educated in the ways of the world. He was a Pharisee of the Pharisees. Listen, nobody was going to debate with him. But God knew, you know what, I'll be honest with you, most of the church at that time was just made up of the poor, made up of the ignorant in this land, the uneducated and the poor. But God knew it was time. He laid that base, didn't he? He laid that foundation. It's time to show this world that this thing, not an ignorant thing. It's not just a blind faith today. And so he brought Paul into the fold, didn't he? And it shocked them. It shocked this world, no doubt. It rocked the Jewish leadership there when their strongest advocate, the son, was converted. No doubt the old devil was shocked when they lost you, the son, when he lost you. How did we lose that one? We had a grip on that one. My Lord knows everything, but the devil don't know so much. And you know what? And I love when Paul made his journeys, and his time was drawing nigh. And he started heading towards Jerusalem. He got to Caesarea, heading back there, and he was staying. You know where he was staying with there? He was staying with Philip there. Philip was the one, that was traveling next to the chariot there. And he heard that Ethiopian read the scripture, didn't he? And you know what the Bible said there? Philip said, do you understand what you're reading? How can I say a man would show me? And Philip got up in the chariot. That was unheard of. This little beggar man riding in the chariot with somebody of importance there. He expounded in Isaiah there, and he preached Jesus to him. And that man, he said, what hinders me from getting baptized? There's some water. Philip didn't just say, well, let's go. He said, if you believe with all your heart, it will hit the water. And they went in the water. And the Bible says, when they came out, Philip was carried off, wasn't he? I found out where he landed. Paul found him in Caesarea. And he had 4 daughters. And they were all prophetesses, weren't they? And Paul was there. He was on his way. Jerusalem was just a short journey on. And that's when that old prophet came down out of the hills there, the Philip's house, and he took Paul's girdle, didn't he? And he tied his hands and his feet. He said, the owner of this belt here, this is what they're going to do to you in Jerusalem. And they all began began to beg Paul, don't go down there. Listen, and what he say? Why do you weep so? People, this thing is real today. This is not get up and put your suit on and go to church kind of thing. They was begging and crying, Paul, don't go down there. He said, you're breaking my heart with this. Oh, I'm ready not only be bound, but to give my life for my king. Listen, and he said, they went down to the boat docks, they went down to the shore, and it said, they all got down and prayed right there. Why we know that when Paul went down there to Jerusalem, right away, some of the elders met him and said, Paul, there's a lot of, they said, there's several thousand believers here. Listen, that's a big church, people. And they said, but they've heard you say that we don't gotta follow the law anymore. So we think you need to gather them all up and tell them that's not true. That we still have to follow the law. Lord. And Paul said, get them all together and let me tell them about it. And you know what? And they went into the temple even. He wasn't just out in the streets. Listen, he went into the temple there. And before he could even begin preaching to him, they all began saying, there's the troublemaker. Lord, there's the one that tearing our church apart. Listen, by standing on the truth. I've seen it happen many times. You stand on the truth. Listen, and they're going to leave you alone. They're going to forsake you. Listen, and they took Paul and they began beating him there. Listen, and it said the soldiers came down and rescued him. Why? And they took Paul, and the soldiers did. And they thought he was a criminal, and they started taking him up into the castle there. And as they started taking him up the steps, Paul said, "Let me speak to him. Let go of me. I need to turn and speak to him some more." Listen, they didn't want to let him go, but he looked at him, and he kind of pulled rank on him there, didn't he? Listen. He said they were taking him to beat him, to question him. That's how they got their answers back then. They didn't just ask you, they just beat you until they got the answers they wanted. And Paul said, "Is it lawful for you to take me, a Roman citizen, and beat me?" And that scared him there. And that general looked at him and said, "Listen," he said, "I got my freedom by buying it." And Paul said, "But I was born free." Oh Lord, listen, and they let go of him, and Paul turned around, listen, and turned to the crowd, and he said, "Brothers, why you know me?" He said, "Many of you know me, if you would admit it now." He said, "And you know that I was a Pharisee of the Pharisees. I was a religious man today." Listen, that's what he was telling them. I was more religious than you. And you know what? But their religion was without God, wasn't it? Listen, and I'm afraid that's what we're faced with today. There's religions everywhere, but where's God at? Listen, people, I'm telling you, if He's not in your heart, your religion's in vain today. And you know what? And Paul turned to him, and And he told them, he said, you know that how I was zealous after this thing with God, and I was persecuting this way. I was persecuting the Christians. I had letters of authority in my hand. I was going from town to town, putting them in prison, putting them to death. And he told them, he said, I was there when they stoned old Stephen. And they laid their coats at my feet because he was the authority for them. People, sometimes I wonder, Lord, why would you bless me? Look what I've done, Lord. Look what a crooked path I've traveled, Lord. Can you imagine what Paul felt? Listen, the things he'd done, the people he put to death just for serving Jesus. And he said, and you know how I persecuted this thing and was zealous for this thing. Listen, and he said that, and many of you followed me. And one time he said, many of you would have plucked your eyes from me if I would have asked it of you. That's how great they thought he was. Listen, what a leader he must have been. He would have been the one who, back under David's time, would have been out front in that army. He would have been the one, listen, like Caleb wouldn't have been leading the charge, to serve God there. And that's the kind of zeal he had. Listen, and he said, you would have plucked your eyes out for me. And he said, but I'm telling you, I was traveling one time on the road to Damascus. I had letters in my hand. I was going to go take some lives, wasn't he? And he said, and as I traveled, a light shined down the sun. And you know what? How strong of a light. It put him on the ground. The sun. Listen, he said, and that light, it shined down, and a voice spoke to me. Listen. And he said, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? That's all. And this is what he was telling the crowd that was trying to kill him for preaching Jesus. Listen, and he said, I heard Jesus speak to me and ask me why I was persecuting him. And when I said, who art thou, Lord? He said, I am Jesus of Nazareth, and that's who you're persecuting. Listen. And Paul, he said, I said to the Lord, what should I do? He said, arise, listen, and go into Damascus, and somebody's going to meet you there, and somebody's already waiting on you. Listen, you can't get ahead of my Lord. He said, I got up off the ground and I couldn't see because of the brightness today. Listen, he didn't blind him with darkness, he blinded him with brightness, didn't he? Listen, that's just the opposite. When they was down in Egypt, listen, that night plague came through, and it was darkness covered the land, and it said, and it was darkness you could feel. Judgment was coming through that land, and they said, even when they lit the candles, they couldn't see. The darkness swallowed that light. But my Lord brought brightness, did he? He brought the light. He is the light today. Listen, down there in Egypt, the darkness swallowed up the light. But I met a man whose light swallowed up the darkness in my heart. Listen, and he said that I was blind when I got up. The brightness of it blinded me, and they took me by the hand, and they led me to Damascus. Listen, and a man came to him, and he said, and Ananias came to me, and he prayed for me, and he called me, brother, receive thy sight. Listen, and why? And he told him all the story, and he said, and Jesus told me, you're going to be a witness for me. Listen, and he said, why? When he got to the point where he told them, and Jesus said, I will send thee unto the Gentiles, the crowd erupted again. Listen, our religion's not for those sinners. Our religion's not for those dogs. People, and I tell you all of this, I'm trying to get you to understand why our religion's good for. If you get it in your head, but you don't get it in your heart. It's nothing new. They had it all through the Old Testament, didn't they? Jeremiah preached to them and preached to them. And he said, and Jeremiah cursed their preachers and their prophets. And he said, you've not mourned over this thing. You've not mourned over the sin. But you've covered their sins to make them like you. You've covered their sins so they wouldn't feel guilty. So everybody could just feel good about themselves. If you came out here this morning hoping that I'd say don't worry about it, we're all okay, I got news for you. I'll tell you something I'm tired of. I'm tired of hearing this, that there's no big sin or little sin. It's all the same. We're all sinners. I got news for you. I may trespass with my God, and He forgives me and works with me, but when I sin, listen, it cuts me to the heart. Listen, it brings me to my knees. Listen, and I mourn over those things. Oh, Lord, my God chastises me, and He brings me down. Don't get me wrong, I deserve the chastisement. Listen, when I choose evil rather than good, and it's a choice today. Why? You know what? I was born with a lot of faults. I'm born with a lot of errors. Listen, I know that, and I fight against that every day. But oh, when I choose, listen, to pursue after the evil, Paul said, listen, we walk in the Spirit today, don't we? He said we may walk in the flesh here, but we don't pursue the flesh. We walk in the Spirit and we pursue the Spirit today. Today. So listen. So I get tired, it seems like we try to be lenient with folks, and we try to be understanding. And we say these things, and we try to be gentle with people, and to not, if they won't come to church, we can't preach to them. And so we don't put judgment over our door, we put mercy. But listen, and they seem to respond to that. But the minute you try to counsel them and say, this is not right, or that's not right, listen, their religion is gone, isn't it? And I don't want to hear anymore that we're not supposed to judge. I'm telling you right now, listen, I don't know your heart, sis. I can't judge your salvation, but I can judge your words. And the Bible says you better be judging the words. Paul stood Peter to his face, didn't he?
That's right.
Listen, in front of everybody, he said, I called him to his face and said, you're making the people to do wrong. And Peter backed down, didn't he? Listen, broad is the way that leads to destruction. And I'm not going to sit idly by and let them run down that expressway. Listen, but find ye the old path and walk therein. It's a little narrow path,
Sure is.
and it's time we called it what it is.
Yeah.
Lord, but I can have mercy because I was on that broad path. I was deceived too. I know what it feels like today.
Amen.
We can have mercy and stand on the truth.
That's right. Amen. Yeah.
We can proclaim righteousness and still have liberty.
Yes, sir. That's what I found.
Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. And it's in Him. And when we ignore those things, and I can talk about myself, when I make the wrong choices, take my whippings. And you know how I take those? I get cold. I lose my blessings.
Yep.
I do. And I've been there. But let's not play church with this thing. You know what? There's nothing more real in my life than God. And there's nothing I want my kids, my grandkids, and my friends and everybody to have more than what I want them to have God. We work hard to have a job and a home and raise them up right. Set an example.
Yeah.
Look what we go through to make sure they're in time for school. And they have good clothes to wear.
Yep.
It hurts us. It hurts parents when their kids maybe can't have everything that the other kids get.
Right. Amen.
You know what? I've been many a time in mine and Carol's life when things didn't go so well and work wasn't so good and all of a sudden and we've shed many a tear trying to make ends meet before, and I've seen the time when I couldn't go to one of my kids' basketball games, Larry, because I didn't have the $2 to get in.
Yep.
And I'd stand out in the hallway, trying to get a glimpse of them playing ball. But you know what? No wonder Peter said, silver and gold have I.
Yeah.
And
Such as I have.
But such as I have, I freely give.
Yeah, Lord.
If I've ever had anything to give, I want to give Jesus to this lost and dying world today. And that's what it's all about for me. I know that I made many mistakes, Larry. I probably could have been a much better parent than what I was. I probably could be a better papa than what I am. But when I leave this world, I just want them to have one thought. I'll see you again over there. I know you tried. I know who you were serving. I know who you were seeking. Listen, I just want to serve God while I'm here. That's my banner today. Let's let that be the banner over our door. Love and mercy. And no wonder that Jesus said, come on to me, all ye. I'm glad that it included me because you're looking at a failure without Jesus today. You're looking, listen, at somebody that could make a right choice if he tried without my Lord. And if I ever made one right decision, it was on my face. Listen, in 1979, I said, Lord, just take my life. Lord, but take me to heaven. That's all I was. When I got my heart in that shape. Listen, it was the worst day of my life went to the best day of my life. Just like that it did. Aren't you glad God is the way that He is today? So let's not play church with this thing.
Right.
Let's serve God. Come on, Larry. Speak a few words. Just speak a few words, whatever your heart feels like. God's good to us, isn't He?
Yeah, Lord.
Thank you, Lord. Whew.